Beto O'Rourke is back and officially joins the already crowded field of Democratic presidential candidates.
I'm running to serve you as the next president of the United States of America. This is a defining moment of truth for this country and for every single one of us.
And with that video on social media, O'Rourke became the second Texas Democrat to announce his 2020 campaign.
He's now in Iowa, where voters have the first say in the nation about who they like. Political reporter Jack Fink is here in studio to show us what O'Rourke is saying there. Jack?
Well, Gilma and Ken, Beto O'Rourke told supporters he's going to run a positive campaign. While he gained national attention when he was running for U.S. Senate here in Texas, he is still having to introduce himself to voters in Iowa.
I'm running to serve you as President of the United States of America.
Beto O'Rourke made a variety of campaign stops in intimate and personal settings in Iowa. The former Democratic congressman from El Paso didn't give specifics, but spoke about the issues from health care.
We absolutely must be guaranteed the ability to see a doctor, to take our child to that therapist, to afford the prescription that could literally save our lives.
To the need for taking action on climate change.
Not to be melodramatic, but literally the future of the world depends on us right now here where we are.
And to his opposition to President Donald Trump's tax cuts.
You have millions of Americans who couldn't get health care. You have teachers working 2 jobs. You have folks who cannot afford to go to college. And your answer to that was to cut a $2 trillion tax cut.
I'm fairly excited.
Sarah Slayman is a Democratic activist in Dallas. She says she hasn't yet made up her mind which of the many Democrats running for president she will support.
So as a 33-year-old millennial, I'm really looking for a strong message about health care, about student debt reforms, and about the economy, and specifically what are we going to do about this terrible tax plan that got passed.
Analysts say O'Rourke is a top-tier candidate who faces competition from other big names already in the race.
He should not go far left and compete with Bernie and Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris. He should be in that middle progressive moderate tier.
And that's the same tier former Vice President Joe Biden will likely be in if he jumps into the race, as many people expect in the next few weeks.
Wondering here, Jack, what you think are some of the challenges that he might face right now, immediately, and then some just down the road.
Well, I think the most immediate challenge that O'Rourke faces is raising money. Analysts say he will have to show that he can still raise a lot of it. Next up, the debates. They start in June, and he can't have any major gaffes. Iowa is critically important, and O'Rourke will need to finish among the top, and then, of course, he's going to have to do well here in Texas. So a long process ahead, but he's got a lot to do.
Yeah, he did well, but this is a whole nother ballgame, huh?
Oh, times how many?
Yeah, exactly.
Times 50.
Yeah, exactly. Jack Fink, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack. President Trump weighed in on the announcement from the Oval Office this morning.
Well, I think he's got a lot of hand movement. I've never seen so much hand movement. I said, is he crazy or is that just the way he acts? So,
Asked if he was more threatened by O'Rourke or former Vice President Joe Biden, the president said, quote, "Whoever it is, I'll take him or her on." Today, CBS This Morning's Gayle King spoke with O'Rourke for his only national TV interview following his 2020 announcement.
I've got experience hiring people, creating jobs, developing the economy of the community in which I live, serving in local government, with Amy helping to raise a family, and finding ways to work across the aisle to get legislation passed even when I'm in the minority party.
And you can see the full interview tomorrow on CBS This Morning.